Kevo Aregbe is on the line, and we're going to be talking about his new play, which is called What Do We Do Now, which is a stage play in two acts. Good
Yes,
afternoon, how
sir.
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm living, man. I'm living, so I'm good. How you doing?
I'm excellent, thank you. So, what was it that inspired you to write this particular play?
Uh so the news hit when Kanye West and Kyrie Irving was going through their issues with the Jews. People started
Mm,
calling me and asking me what did I think about it. And based on my conversations with those people, I thought, man, I should write a play and include, some of the history about Jews that people don't know about with black people.
yeah, and that's interesting because you say it's kind of about African American culture, isn't it? So,
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
what
yeah.
way do you kind of mix that with Jews as well?
Well, because the Jews and African Americans have a very, 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 very interesting relationship. For
Yeah.
example, there's a guy named Monroe Trotter. He's considered right now what we would call woke.
Mm.
But back in his day, when I believe he was alive around the time of was it Booker T. Washington? I believe his issue was that he worked with newspapers and things, and he actually committed suicide.
Wow.
Um, his issue was, did he commit suicide? Yeah, I believe he did.
Mm.
So his issue was he didn't trust white people helping African Americans. He felt like if African Americans wanted to save themselves, they would help themselves. So Jews were very willing to help us, and he would not accept the help. So
Mm.
that's just an example.
Yeah. So in the play, you've got the characters of Edwana, Kyle, and their children, Kylie and Eddie. How do they represent different aspects of African American culture?
Well, the play is based. It's almost like a commentary on
Mm.
our history in America. So if you take the 1940s to the 2020s, I kind of put them all through issues that stand out for African Americans. So Kylie has to deal with issues over women's rights,
Yeah.
over sexuality, over what is it called, abuse. Eddie has to deal with issues that a lot of young African American men go with, issues with identity. And Juana has her issues, and Kyle has his issues. So they all kind of get a wide range of issues that black people have survived in America.
Yeah. And it's set in 1965, and the family, of course, struggle with poverty and discrimination. So, what research did you do to accurately portray the time period? I mean, I guess with the civil rights movement, it's something
Yeah,
that you would sort of know about that era anyway.
yeah, yeah. So that's it. I mean, honestly, that's a good question because not a lot of people who interview me ask me why about 1965.
Yeah.
Maybe you and another guy did. Yeah, it's right after the Civil Rights Act. I wanted to
Yeah.
put it around a time where I felt like that Jim Crow ended. I didn't want to be too cliche when I wrote it. So I feel like if I wrote it before Jim Crow laws, that it would be the same old story.
Mm.
And if I wrote it too far after, then it would be too modernized and too like trying to force entertainment. So I said, okay, let me just put it in the heart of the 60s. Let me put it 1965, and that's what I got.
Yeah. And you say entertainment there. Is the play entertaining? Because obviously it has this underlying message, but is
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
entertaining nonetheless?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's drama, it's comedy, it's romance. It's all it's everything. Everything is in there.
Yeah. How do you
It's
manage
well
to
written.
balance
Yeah.
all that?
You said how did I manage to balance it?
Yeah.
It's art, man. So when you're an artist, you just have a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you go about researching the characters themselves? Did you have to do a bit of research for that?
Well, it's I'm already pretty knowledgeable in African American history,
Yeah.
but in terms of the characters, I spit a lot of them out. Some of them I took from other stories I've written, and I just placed them in this book, which a lot of authors do. Like
Yeah.
a book that I never came out with, I just took this character and was like, you know what, I'm gonna put her here, and life experience and stuff like that. It wasn't hard to spit the characters out.
Yeah. So, what is the overall plot of What Do We Do Now? What journey do we witness the characters go on?
That's exactly what it is. It's a journey. The
Yeah.
plot is a journey. It kind of shows you the resilience, the humanity, the survival of African Americans through all of these years, and then the overall thing is the question, like, okay, what are you going to do now? Well,
Yeah.
now you've been through all of this stuff. What do we do now?
Yeah. And it's in two acts as well. So, how does the story unfold in each act? I mean, is one act different to another?
Yeah, one act is different than the other. The first act is pretty much well, it's a story arc. So
Mm.
the first act is pretty much how very okay. The first act is very dramatic,
Yeah.
and then by the intermission, you get a little bit more of the comedy, and
Mm.
then by the end, you get more of the story kind of coming into one. Like the story just unfolds throughout, and then it comes full circle.
Yeah. And do you think it's important to have a bit of comedy in it, so that it's not just a straight kind of message,
Yeah,
and maybe so it doesn't just become a complete lecture?
yeah. Because I call it infotainment. So it's
Mm.
entertaining, but it's information, and the comedy just comes natural because I guess writing style, like it just comes natural. And even watching people rehearse it or read it out loud, they all laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. And it's kind of good to hear those compliments from your cast because not that I'm unsure of myself, but it confirms a lot of the stuff I'm thinking when I'm writing. And everybody just busts out laughing every time they read it. That's the thing about art. In my opinion, art, if I was to define art, it's something that you could go see or listen to more than once, more than 100 times.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's important about art. Like it doesn't change your feeling doesn't change. It's like, oh, the first time I heard this the yesterday about the Beatles, like I still love the song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's art. That's good art to me. Like you can do it over and over and over again.
Out of the comedy and the social writing, which would you say you're the better at?
I don't have an answer for that because I don't think it's I don't have an answer for that because I don't think that applies to story arcs. So
Mm.
I think it's just I think I did a great job breaking the rules of writing in the script because I broke a lot of rules in writing. So the
Yeah.
in terms of creativity, I think that's what I'm best at. Creativity. It's a very creative story.
Yeah. And how do you see the role in theatre, and entertainment in general, in being able to, kind of promote change, or, you know, help people understand and empathize with different cultures?
Yeah, we have to do our jobs, man. I think that everybody's piece to the puzzle is important, and if you don't fill your piece in, the puzzle never gets complete.
Yeah.
So I feel like everybody that does any type of social awareness, you just have to keep doing your job, raise awareness because things aren't going to change overnight, but so many things have changed over time. So everybody has to play their part.
Yeah. Yeah. And you say things have changed over time. So do you think that, maybe African Americans who read this stage play or go to see it will relate to those back in 1965, or optimistically have things changed so much that they'll see it as a historical artifact?
I think that some people will have that perspective of, especially if they are aware of the history, will be shocked, will be amazed. They
Hmm.
will be like, wow, a lot has not changed. And then I think some people will be more informed to where, wow, this is how they would have dealt with that back then. And this is where we've improved and this is where we gotten worse. But there are certain messages in there that you can't help everybody. I can't,
Yeah.
everybody doesn't have the same perspective or there's no conclusion that applies to everybody. So some people are going to leave there with a conclusion, and some people are not
Yeah.
because it just doesn't apply to them.
So do you hope that this play will contribute to conversations about race and identity and um, social issues in general?
Yes, but I would add, I hope it contributes to art. It's still
Mm.
art.
Yeah.
It's still a literary work of art. So I hope it contributes to the art world in terms of how well written it is and how good the story is. Because the social issues are always important,
Yeah.
but the art has to reflect the time. And at a time like this in early 2020s,
Yeah.
we are still having to go back, and I think that's important to go point out, hey, back in the day this happened, hey, back in the day that happened, and I think that's important. I think that's the artifact.
Yeah. So did you start out knowing that this was going to have some social elements in it, or did you start out going, I want to make an art project, and that stuff came about later?
I think the social came first, and then the creativity came when I hit these roadblocks of, oh, I can't do that because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But with art, it doesn't have to. Certain things don't have to make sense. You can create your own world. You can.
Yeah.
Super Mario doesn't make sense. You can create Super Mario World. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what kind of roadblocks did you face, and were there any major challenges along the way in writing it?
No challenges. I don't. I don't. There's no challenges. I
Yeah.
stand right in the face of any obstacle I approach like it's nothing. I'm a there's nothing can challenge me. People are in the way, but I find a way to move through them and around them. I've had issues with different theaters, different
Mm.
people saying they will help, but I have the ability to block out BS. So there's no challenges. When I hit a roadblock, I either go over it, around it, or through it.
Yeah. And what would you say to those who maybe would find this kind of play woke and virtue signaling and all these words that I don't really know what they mean, but people will say them?
Well, I think that again, that's why I didn't do it before 1965. That's a big
Yeah.
reason why. Because I think it would have been too cliche. It would have been, oh, just another book about civil rights or just
Yeah.
another play about black problems. But it's not like that. When you actually read it, it's so the humanity is so beautiful.
Mm.
Like it's so gorgeous. It's so informing. For whether you're black or non-black, you will learn so much.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to somebody actually who wants to write about this kind of social change but is perhaps worried about that kind of backlash or maybe
I,
worried that they can't give it a good, they wouldn't be
I'll say
good at
just
writing
write
it?
it. Just
Yeah.
write it. Like I said about challenges, I don't care about stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's it. Sound like an excuse to me. If you're worried about that, then it's just an excuse. Just write.
Yeah. And what if they're worried about maybe writing the wrong thing? They try to make something that's anti-racist and then they accidentally put some stereotypes in there. That could be a concern for somebody.
Well, we have a very sensitive time period right now, so that's going to
Mm.
happen regardless. Whether you write it or don't write it, people are going to hate on you. People are going to have something negative to say.
Yeah.
So it
Well,
doesn't matter.
yeah. So what's um, coming up for you after
Well,
this play? Have you got any more things planned?
I got a lot of stuff planned, but I just thought about something you said about the
Yeah.
what if they say this. Quentin Tarantino did Django. They say the N word about a million times in there, and then people were calling him racist,
Yeah.
and that's stupid. Like Quentin Tarantino was pretty much raised by he had his second mom is a black woman, and a lot of people don't know that about him.
Yeah.
And you can see the black influence in all of his films. You know what I mean? But if
Mm.
your perspective looks at it like, oh, this is racist, then you're gonna see it as racist. So yeah, I don't care what people think, bro. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure most people are gonna love it because
yeah,
it's gonna be a very loud minority, or hopefully
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
loud,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
will be a
yeah,
minority nonetheless that would
yeah.
have a problem with it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, only thing I have planned after the play is I just keep working, keep creating whatever's next. I want to keep doing the play actually and see if I can get more showtimes and stuff.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, in the meantime, this play is available for us to read on Amazon. Is it being performed anywhere at the moment?
Yeah, April 10th, Easter Monday, 7 p.m. Houston, Texas, at Match Houston. Tickets are on artbykevo.com, or you can get with me on Instagram at Kevo Arts. Kev as in victory, Oarts.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great having you on.
Thank you.